Hey guys, how you all doing? Welcome back to another video. Today we have week 5 of building Dantooine in Lego, and this is going to be a very exciting segment. We're going to get a lot done, and as you can see in front of you, there's a little sneak peek of what's to come in this video. But of course, if you haven't already, I'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe as well as hit that notification bell so that you stay updated with all that I upload. But with that, guys, let's get started. All right, so to start off this week, I'm going to show you what I've been able to get done so far, and then we'll jump into what else we have in this segment. So first off, right here, I have my modified gunship. You guys can check out the video I did on this. It was a pretty simple fix, but I do really like how it turned out, and it's going to look really cool in the final mock. Another big focus of this week so far has been this command center area. As you can see, a lot of work has gone into this, and I really like how it looks so far. Very cool with this hollow map in the middle. I've also got some computer elements thrown around the sides, and I'm really liking it. Of course, I've got to populate it and add a little bit more detail, but at the moment, this is looking pretty good. A little minor change here. I've added some railings on the side of this, and I've added a little bit of a semi-permanent roof. I kind of like this design because, like I said, with the elevator, and that it matches this whole kind of dark red and gray color tones, so I like how that's looking so far. Another focus, while quite minor, is this little area right here. I reworked the greebling over here to match that kind of style over there with the little curved slopes on the top, and changed the pipe so that it's a completely vertical pipe. I also did the same to this side, but changed up the design for the greebling. So I just got a package in the mail today, and if you watched last week's segment, you should be able to guess what this is going to be, but I'll go ahead and open it up anyway, and we'll see what's inside. So as you guys can see, this package is in fact a set, and not just any set. This is the Clone Turbo Tank from 2015, and of course this is going to be a very important addition to the mock. We are going to have the Clone Turbo Tank sitting in this gray area right here, and I think it's going to look really cool. I would also like to mention that I'm very grateful that the seller actually packaged all of the parts by color. It's going to make it much easier for me to put together. Without further ado, let's build this set and see what it looks like. Okay guys, so just a quick update. I've been building this turbo tank kind of in the background whenever I feel like doing it, taking my time with it, and it's been pretty good so far, but I do want to focus over here on something. Now, in the last week's update, I wasn't really sure what I was going to use this space for. It was kind of that dead space right here in the middle where I wasn't exactly sure what we were going to put here. Though I have kind of come to a conclusion and I have figured out what we're going to actually put here. Now I did get a few suggestions in last week's video, so I am going to use those for this section, but I'll give a brief outline of what I'm thinking or what I'm going with. So over here we're going to have a sort of ATRT docking bay, and this is a very rough outline of what I think it's going to look like. I'm going to use my custom ATRTs right here because I think they look pretty cool. I'm also planning on using these, which is a really nice kind of ramp thing with the yellow markings. I think it's pretty cool. And also I'm thinking of making it dark gray, the whole kind of platform area, as opposed to light gray, because I think it needs a little bit of balancing out. There's really a lot of light gray going on over here. So that's what's going to go in that section. But then over here, what we're going to do is, I know this is a pretty vague idea, but essentially we're going to have a bunch of kind of cargo storage area right here, as well as a place for tools, kind of like a little mechanics corner, as well as just where they kind of dump a bunch of crates and boxes and stuff. But that's pretty much the idea, so I'll get back to you with what I figured out. Alright, so I've been working on this ATRT docking bay, and I think I've come up with a pretty good design. I'm really liking how it's turned out. And as you can see, I am using that 8x16 tile that I was showing earlier, but essentially this simple design is just something to kind of fill up the space, and I really think it turned out quite nice. Essentially what I have is some sort of a docking port right here. I made a quick little design right here, kind of like a stand, and not only does this add support for the ATRT, because what it does is it's just simply a clip that attaches onto the back of the ATRT, but not only does it add support for it so that if I knock the table over, the whole ATRTs don't keep falling over, but it also kind of looks nice. And then I went ahead and added a little bit of detail by putting like a red light, kind of symbolizing how if you've ever been to an underground car park, once you park your car in the space, the light normally turns from green to red. So that's kind of what I was going for, showing that, you know, this spot is taken. I quite like how all of this turned out, but that of course is not the only thing that I've done. I've actually done quite a lot more. As you can see, not only have I finished the turbo tank over there, but I've also worked a little bit on the hangar bay over here, as well as adding this little thing here, and I've worked a tiny bit on the elevator, so we'll go into detail on all of that. Okay, so first things first, you guys will have noticed that I did do a little bit of a layout change over in this section, and the main reason why I decided to do that is because I felt it was a little bit too much like a roller coaster. It didn't seem too realistic to me to have this track go and then have like a curve. It just looked too, it didn't fit with the rest of the mock. That's what I'm trying to say. So instead what I did is I decided to kind of make it a curved track right here and have it based only in the hangar area. And my thoughts are, if the gunship lands like this, essentially they'll probably unload things from the back or whatever, and they'll take it, 5 meters or so, whatever this distance is for them, and they'll load it on a cart and it'll take it around, and then it'll be unloaded right over here next to the elevator, and then it'll be easy for them to take it down. So that's how I've been planning to use this. Now, not only does this take up space, which is a good thing, but I think it actually is a cool thing to add into the mock. Now, you guys can see that I also have a nice design going on with the hangar bay. Now, this is a little bit of a prototype, but I quite like how it's turning out. I actually took this idea from an Imperial hangar bay I saw images of online. Now, I'm not exactly sure how I want to kind of finish it off. Either A, I can have it like that, and the reason why I would just leave it like this, these arrows just tiled on top of that, is because I frankly don't have enough tiles to cover this whole thing. So I'm trying to come up with ways in which I can make it really detailed, but not have to tile the whole thing. So if I do it like that, that will show that, I don't need to tile the rest of it. However, I feel that looks the most unfinished. I could B, go with this, just put tiles just around the arrow, or C, I could go and just, tile up this whole area like this and tile up the whole rest of it. And you might be thinking, well, I thought you just said that you don't have enough tiles. Yes, I don't, but I have another idea to help with that. So essentially, the gunship will go right here in the center. And what my thinking is that right in the middle, I will have, here, let me move this actually. Right in the middle, I will have a raised platform right here that will be in dark gray, kind of balance out the colors. A big, large platform right in the middle that's dark gray, and that's where the gunship will rest on top. And that will take up a good portion of this whole thing, most of that. Well, that will mean is now I have less space to cover with tiles, so I can dedicate all of my tiling to basically around the edges, which is something that I can do. So let me know down in the comments below which idea you like the best. So moving on to this section here, because I have now moved the track and it's no longer coming down here, I had all this space to work with. Now, the first thing that I did is I changed this and I actually put another spot right here. And I even put the 02 to match the 01 over there. I thought it would be kind of cool to keep it consistent and all. So 02, and this is to have my Republic fighter tank. Now, essentially, originally I wasn't planning on including this in the mock because I didn't feel that it would fit properly. Everything would feel a little bit too crowded. But honestly, I needed something to fill the space, and I thought, you know what, let me just put it anyway. And I think it does look pretty good. It doesn't feel too crowded to me at the moment. Now, the last thing I need to focus on is this area right here. This is actually where I'm going to have all of the cargo area that I was talking about before that I said would go here. So instead, it's going to go over here. We're going to have a little bit of mechanics area as well as a cargo kind of storage area. Also, because this space is freed up, I might decide to also extend this building a little bit out this way just to make it a little bit bigger and more complete in a way. Now, the last thing I want to talk about before I move on to the turbo tank, because that thing's awesome, is this over here. Originally, I only wanted to do this area right here, kind of glass it off and put that, but after I looked at it, it looked a little bit unfinished and looked kind of flimsy in a way. So the roof was really just kind of hanging there. So instead, what I decided to do is where I can't put any glass on that side just because it'd be too complicated to do that. I'm going to put it on this side, and I think that will kind of frame it off a little bit better, and I really like how that's looking. I just found a very simple doorway right there, and it'll continue the same glass design up to the top. So if you guys were here to watch, I think it was week 2 of building Dantooine, you'll remember that when I originally made this area where the turbo tank sits, I made it based off of a complete estimate. Like, I didn't have the turbo tank in front of me. I couldn't actually physically be able to measure out how big it was, how wide it was. So what I had to do is take images off a brick set and then roughly estimate by counting each of these studs and then, estimating how long it would be, how wide it would be, including the tires. And I think it really turned out quite perfectly. It fits really, really nicely in this space. And then also another one of my problems was when I was originally building this front door, I didn't know how tall it was going to be either. So I'm really thankful that it finally can actually fit, because if I had built this and the turbo tank was too tall, then I would have had to reshape this whole thing, and that's something I did not want to do. So thankfully it does fit, and I think it looks really, really cool. This angle of kind of like the turbo tank possibly coming out of the base will be a really cool shot for the final mock. So I forgot to mention that I also worked on this hangar bay opening right here this week, and while it was a little bit of a minor change again, I did want to show it off to you guys because I think it will have a little bit more of a significant impact, even though it didn't take too much time to actually change it. Essentially what I did was, originally this was only 2 studs wide right here, and I made it 4 studs wide. What that meant is that now this is much more sturdy, because what was happening, because of how wide this is, it was supported by only 2 bricks, and there was a lot of bending going on, and you could tell that the middle was dipping. So I had to not only reinforce this top area, but I had to double the width to make it a little bit stronger. By doubling the width, what it also does is, well, obviously it makes that thing a little bit wider, but what it will mean for me is that I now have more space on top to fill up with rocks. So when it was only 2 wide, I had a lot of problems because I had to use inverted slopes and stuff for me to be able to match the shape of the rock wall there, as well as complete the rock wall on the other side. So now what I'll be able to do is I have enough space to put it on the front and the back, and I think it will look much nicer overall. So that's actually going to be something that I'll be working on right now. I'm going to try and see how much progress I can get done by us rocking off the top of this, and then we'll go from there. Alright, hopefully you guys enjoyed that little bit of a time lapse showing the beginning of the rock wall above this hangar base section. That was probably about the first 10 minutes or so, and since then I have done a lot more progress. I've raised it by about a whole row of slopes all the way across, and I've also worked on the backside, which I will show you in a little second. I've also worked a little bit on the sides right here. This side right here was primarily to cover up the filler that was exposed right there. And this side was because without it, I can show you guys what it looks like. Without this, it looks a little bit strange, almost as if the rock doesn't even exist on that side. So I put in this little sliver just to kind of indicate that there is rock still existing over here. But so far, this is looking really, really cool. I think this is going to be the final height of the base wall. It might go 1 row higher, but I'm pretty sure this is going to be it. Obviously, I've got to finish it off, and I'm not sure how I'm going to do that actually. I might plate it off, or I might tile it off, so I'm going to have to decide that a bit later. I'll go ahead on turn around to the other side, and you guys can see a little bit of the work on this side. So I'm trying to match the same sort of style. Now this is a little bit hard because, as you can see, like this is the back of a regular slope, so it's completely flat. So I'm trying my best to try and cover it up as much as I can, but it's taking a little bit of a while. I'm also trying to make it as secure as possible, so all of these kind of weird gaps in here, inside here, is all being completely filled out. So there we go, guys. There was week 5 of building Dantooine in Lego, and I'm really proud with what we were able to get done this week. Now, just looking from this angle, this shot, it's really looking like a final mock right now. It's taken on a whole new presence, really looking much more finished, and I love how this rock wall is looking. Of course, we were able to get quite a lot done also on the inside, and I think the hangar is going to start taking shape really soon, and I have to say, I love that turbo tank. Now, I said last week that I was anticipating that we were going to have 2 more weeks this week, and then next week would be the finale, but I think we're going to have to put 2 more segments out. So actually next week will be week 6, and then we'll have the finale. I think I just need a little bit more time in order to make the best mock I can with this. But in terms of what we're going to be doing in the upcoming weeks, of course, we're going to work a lot on the hangar bay next week, as well as finishing up probably the other side of the rock wall. We're going to start placing the interiors for all of those rooms. But if you guys enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate it if you could give it a like, comment in the comments down below what you thought of the video, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.